agent that abducted Han was a representative of an unnamed commander. Now, when the Imperials attack, she helped Han and Luke and Lando escape the planet. Han and Lando decide to go meet this mysterious commander, while Luke, straight out of Episode 5, decides to go to Jomar to meet the mysterious Jedi Master.
Back on Han and Lando's end of things, they have arrived at their destination, an unnamed planet where the mysterious commander resides.
It turns out that the mysterious commander is none other than the oddly named fellow named Garm Iblis. And here we come to one of Star Wars' main problems, the inconsistent naming. On one end of the spectrum, you have an easy-to-pronounce name like Noghri, and on the other end, you have something like Kurzling or Chuzling or Quisling La. And really, do we need a human named Garm Iblis? I mean, really, what's wrong with having names like Han or Luke or anything like that? But Garm Iblis?
Well, in any event, Garm is the commander of a small military force that exists separate from the New Republic. It is later learned that he split from the earlier Rebel Alliance due to issues with another oddly named person named Mon Mothma, who was then leader of the Rebel Alliance and now leader of the New Republic.
Leaving Han for a moment, let's take a look at Leia. She has currently arrived at the Noghri homeworld and is hiding out in the captured Noghri's village. And this does bring up another point about the naming. The alien Noghri is named Cabraka. And that is far easier to pronounce than Iblis.
Leia is able to evade Thrawn's notice for about 3 days, at which time Thrawn begins to notice that something is amiss. And this is due to several factors, not the least of which is the fact that it took Cabraka a month to return to the Noghri homeworld. Thrawn does not actually find Leia, but he does find evidence of Cabraka's duplicity when he finds Wookiee hairs in his ship.
It turns out that Chewie accompanying Leia on this highly covert mission was not a very good idea after all.
After finding the hairs, Thrawn has Cabraka taken to the capital city for interrogation. When one of the village elders mentions something about that being against Noghri law, Thrawn replies with the statement,
"I am the law!"
After that declaration, Thrawn has Cabraka taken away. And now we return to Luke on Jomar. Now, this entire sequence where Luke interacts with C'baoth could be suspenseful, but it really just comes off as rather humorous, mainly because C'baoth is not subtle in the slightest concerning his evilness. Now, Luke does believe him to be insane, but it does take him a while to figure out that he's actually evil.
The only problem is that it is blatantly obvious that he is evil. For one, he rules Jomar worse than a dictator, and for another, he wants everyone to call him Master.
And finally, during the mediation of a dispute, C'baoth uses Force Lightning on somebody. Now, Force Lightning in and of itself is not necessarily evil, but what he says afterward when Luke tries to help the guy is, "The pain is as it should be. It will serve as a reminder." And then, of course, C'baoth wanting Luke to call him Master. Now that's definitely the height of arrogance right there. So both of those should have been a fairly good tip-off as to just how evil C'baoth really is.
Leaving Luke to stew in his own foolishness for a moment, we rejoin Mara. She has been captured by the Empire, but she doesn't actually want to rejoin it.
And that's because Mara does not see this new Empire in the same light as the original one. Even though Thrawn is easily far more adept at command than either the Emperor or Darth Vader ever was. And that's because during the actual Imperial years, they mainly just used brute force tactics to basically instill fear in their subjects.
Mara offers the location of the Katana fleet. Now, she does this for two reasons. For one, she wants to remove Karrde's death mark, and for another, she wants to spare Karrde an Imperial interrogation. Thrawn accepts, but in all reality, it was Thrawn who dictated the terms. So one could say,
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Now, of course, it should come as no surprise that Thrawn has no intention of honoring his side of the bargain.
Although how he does this is fairly obvious. He puts a tracking beacon on her ship. Now you have to imagine, Mara is a seasoned spacer, so she should have known that he might try something like that. But instead of doing the, intelligent thing and landing on some random planet and doing a check, she just continues unabated. You have to also think that in Episode 4, Han was probably an even more seasoned spacer and he still didn't do a check. You would think these spacers would have more common sense than that.
Back on Han and Lando's end of things, they receive a message from Luke to meet back at New Karrde. The only problem is that Luke turns out to be none other than our friend Niles Ferrier. He is trying to get the location of the Katana fleet. Apparently, one other person besides Karrde knows its location. Ferrier, in one of his less astute moments, drops the name of Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Prior to this point, no one in the New Republic knew just who the Grand Admiral was. Although I find that a little hard to imagine. Because think about this, there had to be thousands of people working for Thrawn, be they military or otherwise. So somebody should have at least gotten a name by now. But then again, I guess that just proves that military intelligence really is an oxymoron.
They leave without telling Ferrier anything, and they do check to see if he put a tracking beacon on the hull. However, they foolishly decide to skip an internal check, thus leaving one beacon in place so that they can be easily followed. Ugh, Han, didn't you learn anything from Yavin? Later, Mara arrives at Karrde's new base, only to have Thrawn appear several seconds later. Both Karrde and Mara are, of course, captured. Karrde takes it rather well, and only feels a bit of annoyance at how he was fooled so easily. This, of course, is a bit of dramatic irony, as we know that Mara did not intentionally give away Karrde's location.
Still, Mara was definitely negligent, in that she should have known that they would put a tracking device on her ship. Well, with Karrde's capture, Mara goes to Jomark in an attempt to get Luke to help her secure Karrde's escape.
Back on Jomark, Luke is getting more and more hints to just how evil C'baoth really is. And I mean, these are so obvious, even an idiot could figure this out. Now, you could say that Luke is having his will subverted by C'baoth, but still, how can a seasoned war veteran like Luke not figure this stuff out? Now, after another mediation, C'baoth asks Luke why he did not just read the mind of one of the parties. Luke has a fairly good explanation. He believes that that would be a horrible invasion of privacy. However, C'baoth cites that he could have used that knowledge to help the quarreling party.
When Mara arrives on Jomark to recruit Luke, she is immediately set upon by C'baoth, who uses the Force to throw large rocks at her. Now, Mara, taking this into account, saw fit to bring a Force lizard with her. Now, it's only after this assault on Mara that Luke finally realizes that C'baoth is evil. They do battle for a short time, and C'baoth ends up unconscious. Now, Mara, being someone with a degree of intelligence, suggests that they simply kill him. But Luke believes it would be too heartless to do so. Yes, this inability to kill people will serve to be a major character flaw later in the series.
Of course, the entire sequence of rescuing Karrde is straight out of Episode 4, and I mean it's almost scene for scene, except in this case they steal TIE pilot flight suits instead of stormtrooper armor. Now, as this sequence is straight out of Episode 4, they end up using the garbage chute in order to access Karrde's cell block. Thankfully, when Luke opens Karrde's cell, he is not in the same position that Princess Leia was.
Anyway, Thrawn is able to identify the culprit via an unlikely source. The Imperials find Mara's ship, and inside it they find the Force Lizard. That's really all the information Thrawn needs to identify that Mara and Luke are attempting to bust Karrde out.
They are able to escape by using the Millennium Falcon. The reason that Thrawn has the Falcon is because Leia had to abandon it at Endor when she went with Cabraka. Since Thrawn was the first to reach it, he decided to keep it. Our intrepid heroes reach it just at the time that it's being transferred to another location. That, of course, is awfully convenient, but then again, we wouldn't want to see the Falcon lost, now would we?
A short time later, the plot thread on the Noghri homeworld comes to a close. You see, during the Clone Wars, 2 ships crash-landed on a planet. Due to this, the planet was basically devastated. Most of the life was killed off, sans a few pockets here and there. Now, the Empire stepped in and decided to help the Noghri. What they were going to do is basically cleanse the various toxins from the planet. In exchange, the Noghri would be death commandos. The only thing is, the Empire decided to extend the time it would take to cleanse the planet, thus keeping the Noghri in bondage for quite some time. Now, when Leia uncovers all of this, the Noghris are understandably angered, and it basically puts them into the camp of the New Republic.